Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again, back with more Just Know HOA stories. In this video, a homeowner association tried to steal my lake access property. Here is what happened. The title story starts like this. For years, I talked about how relieved I was that the HOA in my neighborhood was one of the few I've ever heard of not being mandatory to join. If you did not want to join the HOA, you did not have to, and on the list of pros and cons, there were a lot more cons. Actually, one of the major cons was the woman running the entire show. She was insane, and despite everybody knowing and talking about it, nobody ever seemed to want to get her out of the position. I think for reasons I will explain later on, nobody wanted the position, so people in the HOA were kind of just stuck with her. Those that were not like me just got to listen to the drama and problems without having to ever fully be involved in it, since I was not a member. However, one thing that did not seem to make any sense to me was this community-run project that she ran, which seemed more like a mini sweatshop than anything else. She claimed the clothing that the HOA volunteers would help with got donated, and then she got a tax write-off which would lower the general tax for the neighborhood, which obviously did not make any sense. If that does not make sense to anybody reading, well, it doesn't to me either. Also, by volunteers, I mean that anybody in the HOA is required by law to donate a certain amount of hours per month to that project. If they did not, they would receive fines and end up owing money. The neighborhood was pretty split, with I would say 60% part of the HOA and 40% of the residents were not part of the HOA. I was glad that I never gave into the fancy promises the HOA president made for people that joined. She claimed things like we would only be safe from robbers inside the HOA and that our house would never be sold in the future. Things that sounded more like threats to me than perks. She also was famous in the neighborhood for trying to use her minimal power to get any kind of advantage. Asking local store owners for discounts, places for reserved parking, and even just open invitations to people's homes. I would have thought she never got away with anything, but as it turned out, she did. She managed to convince at least a few people that her position of power meant something and they should all bow down to her will. The thing was that she wanted something that nobody in the HOA could give her, and she was mad about that. Our neighborhood had some lake access properties, and when I say some, I'm talking only about 5 homes. For those that might not know, lake access does not mean on the lake, but it means that I have a direct path from my home to the lake. No blockages or traffic or anything other people have to deal with when they want to go. Plus, I get the view of the lake, which is also something I personally love. Now, the HOA president wanted one of these homes, most likely for the bragging rights to it, but none of them were for sale. More than that, none of us were members of the HOA, so she could not use her fake power to try and do anything, or so I thought. First thing she attempted was to go to all of our homes and tried to get us again to join the HOA, seemingly with no ulterior motive until she got about halfway through her little speech. I'm guessing the one she gave to me was the same as everybody else with a lake access property. And if you wonder why I listened despite having no interest, it was because of 2 things. One was that she didn't want to let me get a single word in to tell her that I was not interested. And second was I was raised to be a little too polite and not just slam my door in people's faces, no matter how much I wanted to. However, that was when she dropped this line. HOA president, and of course a lake access home as part of the HOA would be able to benefit everybody to access the lake and have a home as a stopover point. That sentence rubbed me the wrong way because of what it implied. To use my lake access, somebody would have to first of all go through my property, which I would never be okay with to begin with. The second being using my home as a stopover point. I can only assume she meant people coming into my home and using it like some kind of community building and not as my home. I was not about to have an open door policy for the entire neighborhood. I could not tell her any of this though, because as you guessed, she was still talking. After she was done, I could only tell her again that I was not interested and hoped that she would just move on. She continued to press talking about how important lake access was for the community. Talking about how it might even be better for me to just switch homes with somebody else in the HOA so that people as a whole could benefit. Really, lady? You think I'm going to just trade houses like a kid trading baseball cards? I like my house, that's why I bought it, and I was not gonna just swap it. My patience was done and I told the HOA president the only thing I could think of. You are crazier than I ever thought if you think you're getting my home. And I thought you were pretty insane before, so who knows what that makes you now. She was speechless finally and just turned around to go back to her own car. I really assumed that it was gonna end with that, but I was wrong. Now, I knew for a fact that she didn't want my house because of the community at all. She wanted it because she was jealous of not having one of the more elite homes in the neighborhood and wanted some kind of status that didn't exist. I had no intention to sell or swap, and she was going to have to live with it. Or so I thought. A few weeks later, the HOA president arrived back at my house, but this time with the police. I was confused and let the police in, who promptly told me that I had to leave and allow the new owner to move in. That my 30-day grace period had ended and the home was now no longer under my name, so I was considered trespassing. Honestly, I think it would have been considered squatting, but not the point. Anyway, I told them that it was my home and there was no new owner. I was the only owner and had not sold the house or been foreclosed on. That was when Karen walked in and started waving papers around so wildly I couldn't have seen anything on them. Karen, he's a liar. You can see right here that I purchased a home and it said he had 30 days to move out. It has been more than that, and you can clearly see he has made no attempts of leaving. Officer, sir, you cannot stay in the home after you sell it. You need to make other arrangements. We can try to make an agreement with Karen to give until tomorrow or even the end of the day to move. Otherwise, your stuff is getting tossed into the street and the lock is being changed. Me, hold on just a second. I never sold my house to anybody. I just paid my mortgage for this month 2 days ago. She is obviously lying and she must have faked some documents. Officer, that's something you need to take up with her in the courts. They might let you come back or keep both of you out until things are sorted. For now though, I strongly recommend you moving out your stuff and leaving. Me, where am I supposed to put everything? I don't have another house to bring it all to. Officer, not our problem. It cannot just stay here though. Now ma'am, can you make this a little easier for everybody and let's say 24 hours to move out? HOA president, I guess I can be nice and do that for him. But then I want to move stuff into my new home. Have you ever noticed that when somebody is getting away with a total lie, they have the worst smiles? It's the kind of smile I never see in any other context and I could not even attempt to recreate. Well, she had one of those smiles on her face and with the cops on her side for the moment, I could not do anything about it. I called in every favor from every single friend I had in order to empty out my house within the day. I filled up an entire storage container with my big stuff like furniture and as many boxes as I could. The rest were being kept wherever I could find or get some space. My car, friends' attics, friends' garages. I even ended up storing some of my things with my really nice neighbors that I didn't know that well. I managed to do it, but the fact it had to be done in the first place left me angry and bitter. The more stuff I moved, the more pissed I got at the HOA president and the more I wanted revenge. I called a lawyer and explained that Karen claimed with fake papers that she had purchased my house. I told him that I had proof like my mortgage and there would be no proof for exchange of money. He told me that the good news was fraud cases like this in his experience were usually open and shut. She would have nothing but fake documents while I had everything on my side. He told me though the bad news was this was not the kind of thing that could happen in a day. So while he might be able to keep her from moving into my house, I also wouldn't be allowed back. I love my friends to death, but none of them were really able to let me stay with them for any extended period of time. They had limited space, kids and even elderly parents living with them. This meant I did a lot of couch jumping where I stayed with friends for a few days to a week before moving somewhere else. Sometimes even just borrowing their driveways and sleeping in my car. I was lucky that I didn't need to wait months like some other people in order to go to court. My lawyer was able to push the case so that it only took about a month before we were taking care of things. That also meant a month of me having to pay a mortgage on a house that nobody was living in, so I would not lose the house. A fact that, while annoying, would actually be an advantage for me in court. It was also the first time I had seen her since that day with the cops and I tried not to even look at her to hold in my anger. I presented everything that I had, which included the fact that I was paying my mortgage, that no larger chunk had been paid from something like a house sale, and full access to all of my banking records. Our proof was really going to be that the money she claimed to spend was never exchanged. When she was questioned about it, suddenly she was talking about how while she had paperwork claiming it was a sale, I ended up just giving it to her for free. Nobody believed that, and she was instead asked to prove the exchange of money that she couldn't. Then we had a professional come in and look at the paperwork to show that it was not my handwriting and that signature was more than likely not written by me. I guess he cannot say he's sure or anything. It did not even take the entire day before the judge claimed that her paperwork was bogus and that I could go back into my home. I was not done yet because I was also suing her for the month of mortgage I had to pay while not being able to live in my house despite there being no actual reason I shouldn't have been. I was granted that money from her as well and left to finally start moving back into my house. I was not done yet because I felt like having to give me some money was not enough. For the forgery charge, I found out a few weeks later she was only given probation and no jail time. I decided I had to get some revenge on her and knew just how I was gonna do it. You might remember that I was talking about a community project where she would force people to help her make clothing. That was not just a random comment about her because this is where it comes back into play. I knew that something shady was going on but never bothered to get myself involved until now. I wanted to see if she was actually donating these clothes to poor children and then using the tax write-off towards the community. This may have involved me hiring somebody to follow her and see where she took the clothing after it left her house. I got photo evidence of her taking them out of town and to a store. She gave them the clothing and they gave her cash. I then did research on the place and found out that they were a store claiming to sell used good condition clothing for a great price. So it's kind of like a bargain shop, I guess. Not even close to a donation center or anything that she was claiming. I decided to talk to some people in the HOA and show them exactly what I had found. That they were being forced into free labor, and if they didn't, they would have to pay her money anyway. Money that I can be sure of went into her pocket instead of the HOA fund. Before I knew it, I was back to talking to my lawyer and showing him what she had been doing. If it was only me, then the courts might have seen it as some kind of retaliation. Since I had a ton of people in the neighborhood angry, we were able to take her back to court and get her charged for running an illegal business, forced labor, and tax evasion. Since she was not declaring any of this money to the IRS, neighbors testified about having to do volunteer work, and if they didn't, they would get a fine in the mail. She was trying to argue that if they volunteered, it was not forced labor, since she was not holding them captive or putting a gun to their heads. The fines and some people even having proof of them threw that argument out of the window. So finally, police raided her home and found the stuff she was making matched up with things being sold at that store. Plus, it was not hard to take a look and see that she declared having no income in the last year despite making a profit this way. The cherry on top being she was already on probation because of the other crime, so there was no way she was just getting away with this one. In total, she ended up getting sentenced to 5 years in jail and she was not happy about it. Once she was gone and the HOA had no president, we were waiting for somebody else to take over. The thing was that nobody did, and without a president to run, the HOA could not exactly exist. In my mission to destroy her, I accidentally got the entire HOA shut down. I don't feel bad since it was not doing anything productive anyway, but I find it funny that something that can happen by accident. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you enjoy the HOA stories, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment because that would help me tremendously. The next one is titled, Karen tries to kill a coyote pack that befriended me and calls the police. Posted by user aggravatingbench41 on r/ripe stories, our own subreddit. Okay, before I tell you this story, never approach a wild coyote. For this bond between me and this coyote pack, it took years of trust to build, and I've been lucky for the mother trusting me to be around her puppies. So with this warning stated, onto the story. I'm a volunteer with the DNR and they assigned me to watch a specific pack of coyotes in the state of Indiana, and I've had experiences similar in South Africa working with African wild dogs, so long story short, I managed to follow the movements of coyotes living out in rural neighborhoods, and for 2.5 years I was befriended by the coyote pack in question. And even though I left, I still travel out to the woods to be greeted by 6 to 9 coyotes. 3 of them at the time were 4-month-old puppies and get a shower of affection from the pups. Well, one particular day, I call out to them and as usual, they came running, but instantly I knew something was wrong when I heard gunshots and the coyotes were whimpering. Moments later, I see this woman mid-40s coming running through the bush, carrying a gun, running towards me. I told her to stop, and when she sees me, she began to stare daggers at me as one of the puppies somehow managed to climb under my shirt and poked its head off the neck hole, and she began to raise the gun towards it. Karen, sir, please remove that filthy beast. I need a clear shot. Me, don't you effing try. These coyotes are under the protection of the DNR. Karen, I don't care if the government protects them. They're on my property, so they deserve to die. I answered, I won't let you do that, so do us a favor and put down the gun. Karen, no, I won't. And then to my horror, she fires the gun and hits the mother of the 3 puppies in the leg. My adrenaline went into overdrive, and before I got the chance to disarm her, I knew my job now was to protect the mother coyote, so I did so, and moments later I hear sirens. This woman had me at gunpoint and called the cops on me. Police came down into the clearing and I told them to stay back because of the coyotes. They do so, and I explained how this Karen threatened to shoot me along with them, and she was arrested for aggravated assault and assault with a deadly weapon. At this point, the DNR also showed up with a mobile vet and the mother coyote got proper medical treatment. I'll post more updates to let you all know what happens. Update to the story, so to inform all of you what's happening now, the mama coyote's condition got much worse to the point where the vet had to amputate the leg that got shot, but they think she will make it, and for this coyote's pack's safety, the DNR put them in a wild canine sanctuary so that they can live far away from hunters or people that would hurt them. Turns out the Karen got another charge on top of the assault charges, and this time for poisoning the bullets she was firing. The vets found high amounts of rattlesnake venom and cyanide in the mama coyote's bloodstream, so she could possibly be facing a long time in prison. And the next one is part 1 of a special story. My girlfriend and I have been dating for over a year, and a month ago she moved in with me. She has no kids, but I have 11-year-old twin boys. I'm a single dad, their mom left shortly after she gave birth. In the beginning, she would talk about my sons or goes to introduce them like, meet EJ and here are his sons with Down syndrome. And, oh yeah, my boyfriend has kids but they have Down syndrome. And once commented to a friend, yeah, I want a baby but my boyfriend has disabled genes, I don't want a Downs baby. Which is incredibly ignorant, and I've told her how this bothers me. Put people before their disabilities, they have names. She usually apologizes and laughs it off. I thought she was just oblivious and didn't understand disabilities. Twins with Down syndrome are unique, and I tell them every day how special they are, so when she is referencing them in a negative way, it's a relationship red flag. Today is their birthday and I gave her enough money to buy balloons, party supplies, each a cake, their favorite food, and to get a slip and slide. She offered to do this while I was at work. She said she was getting her hair done and then would go shop and set everything up. I was so excited to surprise my boys. I then pick my boys up from their summer day program and head home. I walk in and it is just my girlfriend. I asked her where everything was and she said, "Did you not see my text?" There was a text hours ago saying, "Oh no, I forgot my wallet." I said, "Okay, and?" She forgot her wallet and used my money to pay for her hair. I told her there was no way she didn't see it missing and started getting defensive. She said she had this hair appointment booked months in advance and would be put on a client blacklist at the salon for canceling, so she just used my money and insinuated she would do extra sexual favors to make it up to me. I asked her why she took my money and that I gave it to her for my boys, and she said, "It's not like they know it's their birthday, just tell them it's next month." I swear, I've never felt so much rage in my life. We don't share bank accounts. And then she said, "You have a good job, I will pay you back." I told her I gave her everything I had left until I get paid again. I get paid monthly. She said I was acting crazy, and when I told her to go back to the salon and have them refund her, shave her bald, get a IOU, or start sweeping up hair for it. Then she says again that we can just pretend it's their birthday on another day. She said she has no money to give to me right now. I told her what she did was stealing. I was not going to have a thief in my house around my kids and to get out. She then started crying, saying she has nowhere to go and that I cannot just evict her. She is not on the lease and has not lived here a full month, nor does she have any mail with my address. I did not realize until after she left that she stole my son's tablets, and I'm in the process of now filing a police report and I am shaking. I was distracted trying to calm them down because they got scared that I was upset. Not only do they have nothing for their birthday, they also don't have their tablets they use daily for communication and use nightly to calm them down before bed. We have food, but they were looking forward to having their favorites. I'm so tired of seeing people take advantage of people with disabilities who justify it as they don't know what's going on, let alone have it happen at home. And yeah guys, obviously OP really needs to get rid of that girlfriend because that is clearly the worst girlfriend ever. And the next one is part 2 of the girlfriend story. Almost 2 weeks ago, my ex stole my son's birthday money and destroyed their communication tablets that they use daily. Since then, I have not been able to hold her responsible for any of it. When I tried to file a police report, the officer told me that since I kicked her out of my house, I should just call it even, despite the tablets being over $200 each. I did file in civil court over the stolen birthday money, but was informed it will take months, which I will wait. I'm not dropping it. Since then, my boys are having epic behavioral meltdowns daily because they don't understand why I'm not giving them their tablets. They think they were bad and lost them. The tablets were utilized daily for communication and nightly to wind them down for bed. I've done my best to hold it together, but I am furious that she got away with it. It's not right and it's not fair to them. Today around 5 p.m. there was a knock on my door. It was a repo man telling me he was there to pick up my ex's car. She had not paid her car payments for months, so I asked to speak to the person who ordered the repo and acted like I would possibly make a payment to prevent it from getting towed. I have no money, but I wanted to know how long she had not paid because I have given her money twice to pay it a few months ago. She had been telling the lender that she could not lose her car because she had to transport her disabled kids. She used my boys to get sympathy from the lender, and I honestly have never been once again so furious in my life. She had not updated her info since getting a new job, and her family refused to tell them where she worked, so I did. I gave them her job address and I gave them the address where she had been staying since I kicked her out. In under an hour, my phone was blowing up from her that her car got taken away. I told her she should have just pawned the tablets instead of being a disgusting POS and destroying them if she owed so much money. Not the best revenge, but it is a start. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.